Welcome to the deep dive, ready to go deep.
Always.
Today we're heading to the underworld.
Ooh, sounds fun.
We're exploring, the myth of Hades and Persephone.
A classic.
Yeah, and we know you're interested in diving deeper into this story. We've got some fascinating sources.
Really fascinating.
Yeah, to guide us.
Yeah, it's a story that just keeps resonating, through the centuries and the sources you've got, those excerpts from, what is it? Greek myths-greekmythology.com.
That's the one.
And that essay from Dickinson College.
Yeah.
Really highlight how many layers there are to uncover.
So many layers.
Yeah.
So get ready for a deep dive into power, desire, and changing seasons.
Ooh.
We're going to uncover why this ancient myth just keeps captivating us today.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, what's so compelling is how the myth intertwines the personal and the universal.
Yeah.
It's about, individuals, Hades and Persephone.
Sure.
But their experiences also mirror these cycles of nature and the human condition.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a story that just keeps giving.
It does.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
We've got Hades, god of the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's often portrayed as, this dark and brooding figure.
Right. Yeah.
But he's not simply, death personified.
Right.
He's the ruler of the realm of the dead, a
Right.
complex and powerful figure, in his own right.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. I mean, Hades isn't necessarily evil.
Right.
He embodies this certain gravity, a sense of finality,
Right.
inevitability. He's often depicted as stern and just,
Right.
maintaining order.
Keeping things running.
Yeah, down there in the underworld.
Exactly. Yeah, someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
And then we have Persephone.
The radiant goddess of spring.
Yes, she is. She's associated with growth, beauty, the vibrancy of life.
Exactly, yeah.
She's got it all.
She does.
And of course, she's, the daughter of Demeter,
Of course.
the goddess of agriculture.
Yes,
A powerful figure
definitely.
in her own right.
Yeah, Demeter's connection to the earth and its bounty is so central to understanding the impact of this whole myth.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when Hades abducts Persephone,
Oh, boy.
whisks her away to the underworld,
Yeah.
Demeter's grief,
It's intense.
it's so profound that it throws, the natural world
Out of whack.
into chaos.
Totally.
It's not just a mother's sorrow.
Right.
It's a force of nature.
It really is.
The earth becomes barren, crops fail, humanity faces famine.
Yeah. And this reaction, I think, reveals how the ancient Greeks really saw a direct link between the divine realm and the natural world.
Fascinating.
They believed the emotions of the gods could literally impact their lives.
Right. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
It's fascinating how this myth elevates the power of emotions, especially grief, to a cosmic level.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just personal, it affects
It
everyone.
affects everything, yeah.
But of course the story doesn't end there.
Of course not.
Zeus, king of the gods, intervenes.
Gotta step in.
Has to, right?
Absolutely.
The world can't function
Can't go on.
with Demeter in this, perpetual mourning.
And it creates this fascinating family dynamic, doesn't it? I
Right.
mean, Zeus is Hades' brother,
Right.
and in some versions of the myth, Persephone's father as well.
Oh, wow.
So he's navigating these personal relationships
Mhm.
while also trying to maintain, order in the cosmos.
Yeah, a lot on his plate.
He's got a lot to juggle.
He does.
So he sends Hermes, the messenger god,
Right.
to negotiate Persephone's release.
Mhm.
And Hades agrees, but,
There's always a but.
there's always a catch in Greek mythology.
That's the truth.
He tricks Persephone into eating pomegranate seeds.
Oh, no.
Now these seeds are more than just a tasty snack,
Yeah, right.
They represent a binding contract.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So by consuming food from the underworld, Persephone is forever tied to that realm.
It's a done deal.
Yeah.
She's allowed to return to her mother, bring spring back to the world, but she's obligated to spend a portion of each year in the underworld as Hades' queen.
That's the brilliance of this myth.
It is.
It uses this seemingly simple act, eating pomegranate seeds,
Right.
to explain this profound cycle of life, death, and renewal that
Yeah.
we see reflected in the changing seasons.
It's amazing.
It really is, yeah.
It is.
And what strikes me is that even though Hades tricks Persephone,
Yeah.
she ultimately becomes this powerful figure in her own right.
Right.
She's not just a victim.
Yeah.
She's the queen of the underworld.
Absolutely.
And her story resonates in all sorts of ways with modern ideas about female power and agency.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
That's one of the reasons I think, this myth keeps fascinating us. It raises these timeless questions
Yeah.
about, choice, destiny, and the complexities of power, like questions that we're still grappling with today.
It's true.
Yeah.
And even within the original myth, there are varying interpretations.
Yeah.
The source material you provided, particularly that comment from Agent on that Mythology.com website,
Right.
highlights this.
Yeah.
They question this common portrayal of Hades as the villain.
It's a valid point.
It is.
The myth presents like a complex scenario.
It does.
While the act of abduction is undeniable,
Right.
there are hints of a deeper connection between them,
Yeah.
between Hades and Persephone.
And the Homeric hymn to Demeter, which the website's author Giannis quotes,
Yeah.
reveals that Hades forced the pomegranate seeds on Persephone.
Oh, wow.
So even within the ancient text, there's this tension between agency and coercion.
Which makes you wonder, like, how the ancient Greeks, how they viewed this relationship.
Yeah.
Was it purely a story of abduction and subjugation, or did they see something more nuanced in the dynamic between Hades and Persephone?
That's a question for the ages, isn't it?
It is.
And it leads us perfectly into our next topic.
Okay.
How modern interpretations grapple with this very tension.
Interesting.
Because while the original myth paints, this complex picture, things get even more interesting when we look at how this story is being reinterpreted today.
I can't wait.
It feels like modern retellings, of this myth, they really tap into those deeper questions.
They do.
Especially when it comes to Hades and Persephone's relationship. Do you think that's because, like, our understanding of power dynamics and consent has evolved so much
Oh, absolutely.
over time?
Yeah, what was once accepted as typical, even romantic, now gets a much closer look, It's interesting how modern adaptations kind of navigate that. Some seem to shy away from the abduction entirely.
Yeah, like Lore Olympus.
Yeah.
Which that commenter Jane Doe brought up.
Right.
It reimagines Hades and Persephone as this like modern power couple.
Yeah.
In a contemporary Olympus.
Right.
They meet at a party.
Right.
And while there's, definitely some intrigue,
Sure.
it's a far cry from the forceful abduction of the original myth.
It's almost as if, like, by placing the story in a modern setting, the creators felt the need to soften those rougher edges,
Right. Well,
to make Hades more palatable to a contemporary audience.
to make him a little less scary,
Yeah, exactly.
a little more dateable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as Jane Doe pointed out, it almost feels like some interpretations are leaning into that Stockholm Syndrome idea.
Oh, interesting.
Where Persephone, develops feelings for Hades over time as a way of coping, for being in this really, difficult situation.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It raises some interesting questions, doesn't it?
It does.
About how we as a culture, like, view those kinds of power imbalances, especially in romantic relationships.
Right.
Are we trying to find ways to explain away the problematic aspects, or are we genuinely fascinated by the complexities of love and coercion?
I don't know.
It's a bit of a tightrope walk, isn't it?
It is.
Finding that balance between acknowledging the darker elements of the original myth, but also allowing for, reinterpretations and modern sensibilities.
Right. Yeah, we want to be sensitive to modern audiences.
Sure, yeah.
But also, trying to stay true to the original source material.
Absolutely.
It's a tough line to walk.
It is.
Speaking of reinterpretations, that graphic novel Epicurus the Sage.
Oh, yeah.
Which the Dickinson college essay mentions.
Right.
Takes a totally different approach.
It really does.
It claims the whole abduction was staged.
I know, right?
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Why would they go to all that trouble?
Well, according to Epicurus the Sage, Hades and Persephone were secretly in love,
Okay.
but knew Demeter would never approve.
Right.
So they concocted this elaborate plan
Wow.
to be together.
So it's a love story disguised as an abduction.
Basically.
I mean, it does make you wonder if on some level, like, these reinterpretations are trying to, reconcile the original myth
Yeah.
with our modern discomfort, with the lack of consent.
Yeah, it's as if we're trying to find ways to make the story fit our current values,
Right.
even if it means, bending the narrative quite a bit. But the essay makes a good point.
Okay.
Like, are we missing out on an opportunity to engage with those uncomfortable truths?
To sit with the discomfort a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
And what about that other commenter, Diniki?
Oh, yeah.
They weren't so bothered
Right.
by the abduction.
Yeah.
They even praised Hades' faithfulness,
Interesting.
pointing out, how different he is from his philandering brothers, Zeus and Poseidon.
That's an interesting perspective.
It is.
It highlights how readers can focus on different aspects of the myth and draw wildly different conclusions.
Right.
It also makes you think about how ancient audiences might have viewed Hades.
Yeah.
Was he seen as a villain or a more stable, reliable figure compared to the other gods?
Yeah. It's a good point.
It adds another layer, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And it brings us back to that core question, like, who is Hades, really?
Yeah.
Is he a villain, a lover,
right,
or something in between?
Perhaps he's all of those things.
It's true.
The myth doesn't, offer easy answers.
No, it doesn't.
And that's part of its enduring power.
It's true.
Yeah.
It
forces us to confront these moral ambiguities, to wrestle with these difficult questions about power, desire, and the nature of consent.
Yeah, and then there's Persephone.
Yeah.
I'm struck by how her story speaks to this idea of transformation. She goes from being this innocent maiden to the queen of the underworld,
powerful,
embracing a power and authority she never had before.
That duality is so central to her character, isn't it? She embodies both life and death, growth and decay. Yeah. It's reflected in the changing seasons, of course, but also in the human experience. We all go through periods of light and darkness, growth and loss.
I'm thinking about that essay from Dickinson College.
Yeah.
How it connects these modern reinterpretations to the Beauty and the Beast trope.
Interesting.
It seems like we're drawn to these stories where seemingly opposite forces find a way to come together.
And in many ways, Hades and Persephone embody that. He represents the darkness, the underworld, the unknown.
Right.
She represents, life, beauty, the promise of spring.
Exactly.
And yet they're bound together, intertwined in this relationship that reflects the interconnectedness of all things.
It's true. Yeah, and of course there's the question of whether their relationship is one of love or coercion.
Right.
A debate that continues to fuel these modern adaptations.
It does.
But perhaps there's room for both interpretations. Perhaps their story can hold both the darkness and the light, the beauty and the beast, the power dynamics, and the possibility of genuine connection.
Yeah, it makes you think about the myth's lasting legacy.
It does.
What is it about this story that continues to resonate with us?
Thousands of years later.
Yeah. Thousands of years later.
Yeah, it's not just a love story.
No.
Or a simple abduction, is it?
It's so much more.
There's so much more to unpack here, especially when we consider the ancient Greek worldview.
Right. The myth gives us this glimpse into how they understood, fate and destiny. The moment Persephone eats those pomegranate seeds, her path is essentially set. It speaks to this idea that even the gods and goddesses weren't entirely in control of their lives. Right. They were bound to this cosmic order.
That concept of fate feels so different from our modern emphasis on free will and individual choice.
It does, doesn't it?
But perhaps it's not, so black and white. Maybe it's more about finding a balance between accepting what we can't change.
Yeah.
And making choices within, the framework of our circumstances.
Yeah, and remember the myth doesn't portray Persephone as passive in the face of fate. She becomes this powerful queen, ruling alongside Hades.
Yeah.
It suggests that even within the constraints of destiny, there's room for agency and self-determination.
So maybe it's less about being, powerless.
Right.
And more about how you choose to navigate the path that's been, laid out for you.
Laid out for you.
And that path for Persephone is intimately tied to the cycles of nature.
It is. Her story mirrors the ebb and flow of life, death, and renewal that we see in the changing seasons.
Right.
It's a reminder that nothing stays the same, that even in the darkest depths of winter, the promise of spring lies dormant, waiting to emerge.
And just as Persephone, returns to the surface, bringing new life and growth, we too can emerge from periods of darkness and find renewal.
Absolutely.
It's almost like the myth offers this framework for understanding, the cyclical nature of our own experiences.
Yeah, that article on greekmyths-greekmythology.com mentioned the Eleusinian mysteries.
Right.
these secret rites celebrated in ancient Greece.
Right.
Scholars believe they were connected to the myth of Demeter and Persephone. Offering initiates a glimpse into the mysteries of life, death, and rebirth.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even back then, people were looking to this myth for deeper meaning, for a way to make sense of these universal experiences.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder, like, what those initiates, what they experienced, what insights they gleaned from those rituals.
It speaks to the myth's power to connect us to something larger than ourselves, to tap into these timeless themes that continue to resonate across cultures and generations.
It's pretty powerful.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, it seems like we've only scratched the surface.
We have. There's so many layers to uncover, so many different interpretations to consider.
The beauty of this myth is that it doesn't offer, easy answers.
It doesn't.
It invites us to grapple with these complex questions, to explore the gray areas, to find our own meaning within the story.
Yeah, it's like the myth itself is a pomegranate.
Ooh, I like that.
Filled with these little seeds of wisdom, each one offering a different perspective.
Right.
A different flavor, a different way of understanding ourselves and the world around us.
So for you listening, we leave you with this. What resonates with you most in this myth?
Yeah, good question.
Which interpretation speaks to your own experiences? How does this ancient story shed light on our modern understanding of love, power, and the human condition?
Big questions.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper into the rich tapestry of mythology.
Absolutely.
There are always new discoveries to be made.